Good morning, dear friends. I would like to welcome you to the world of Soul Wisdom for Better Relationships, a book that I co wrote with Lucy Fay. It's about relationships, sexuality, toxicity in relationships, and how to get back to harmony. We share our experiences, and I wanted to share with you today one of the chapters. So just get comfortable. I'll probably be reading for some time and want to focus on the chapter The Awakening of the Priestess and the Knight Archetypes. We come with multiple memories from other times and dimensions. We carry stories that need to be made alive again, wounds that need to be healed again. I see ourselves as actors waiting to live theater pieces on stage. These memories have been categorized and defined as archetypes or subpersonalities to help us understand them and give them a voice on stage. They may take on images from human experiences, such as knight, hermit, priestess, etc., or memories from our cosmic existence, such as Lyrans, Andromedans, Arcturians, Pleiadians, and so on, or ancient Earth incarnations, such as Lemuria or Atlantis and those that come after. But in their essence, these are parts of us that need to be heard and played. Some archetypes also awaken through some centuries by waves as a wake up call to heal it. I noticed these last years some archetypes awakening that need to be played on a cosmic level to bring harmony and connection to the fabric of reality we live in. By living these archetypes and understanding them and giving them space, we become a pure channel that is of service to the greatest good. Some of you might say, what is in it for me? How can this archetype bring me to the love or the love I am seeking? I don't have a definite answer. However, I can assure you that you will learn so much about who you are and how the world functions on a bigger scale. I also have the conviction that when we embody these archetypes, we connect to the divine flow that is pure abundance and love, which allows us to connect more and to know more. The only condition, however, is to let these archetypes play in harmony without causing harm. It is not to identify completely with them, but to remind ourselves that they are just roles in the biggest theater we are playing at this moment of time. Remember, do not identify completely with one archetype. Remember that an archetype is a description of or projection of an energy and an intention. It has a goal and needs. Stay distant emotionally and mentally. It is all stage. Always stay connected with the wholeness you are. Keep in mind the big picture. Meditate often and connect to the multiplicity of your being. Take time to purify yourself and disconnect from the relationships you made. Forgive, release, and center. This is a job, so take it seriously too. Don't make decisions on a whim and take your time often to access what your needs are. Accept to release a connection when the work is done and notice when the human in you takes over with its own needs and desires. Keep things simple and ask yourself these questions. Is this a real connection with a partner or is it work? How do I see myself with this person in 5 years? At which level are we connected most? The spiritual, the physical, the mental? Can I live with what is missing? What other roles, archetypes am I playing? The savior, the creator, etc. The archetype we bring forward to this lifetime are creators. They don't want to save or to judge. They are just allowing a pure channel of healing to move through them, and they gain insight and wisdom with it. It is not something they think about, it just happens. However, Be aware of the mix that can happen between the human needs and the channel. We have to differentiate between the multiple energies that cross us to learn how the multiplicity of being manifests in this small receptacle, which is our body and mind. Draw an image of what you think you are intuitively, then draw again intuitively what you are, and see which colors have you chosen, what comes through these drawings, and what are their limits. It is so limited to express who we are in this existence through our words, jobs, and relations. We're immense. And now let's start with the archetype of the priestess. Priestesses are the ones who keep the temple alive. The temple is the physical embodiment of a universal principle. The priestesses are the ones who convey and transmit it. The path of the priesthood is not simple or easy. It is a path of initiation, or should I say, polishing the diamond we are. That is done through training, studying ourselves, and removing our conditioning for several years. Embodying the archetype of the priestess means to connect to one's divine part, to what is greater than the identity conveyed in our daily lives, to recognize and enter into communion with the sacred, to be devoted and have a daily practice to honor the sacred, to be of service to high principles and holding to them no matter what, to bless all that exists, to embody the divine principles on earth, to forge links by following the mission of the temple, taking the least traveled path, following divine aspiration. In practical life, when we carry the memory of the priestess, we want to be of service, to heal the masculine and feminine from these wounds. Sexuality as a sin, guilt and shame, the pursuit of pleasure that is disconnected from the spiritual orgasmic organs that experience the cosmos, presence, survival, fears and anxiety that are trapped in the sacral and base chakra, repression by power or logic of impulses, desires, needs, and creative flow, which creates energy and physical blockages. Avoidance of intimacy and commitment, disconnection from others, wounds related to motherhood, and all that is linked to childbirth, rejection, and grief. This archetype wants to heal by bringing some principles alive again, those of love, connection, devotion to life, sacredness, innocence and purity, commitment, sexuality as the dance of the divine great mother, magic, bliss, rejuvenation, accessing greater creative power. This archetype might be awakening within you because in these specific times, your creative sexual energy expands as well as your consciousness. You attract man or woman who need healing, feel incomplete, and want to connect to their divine essence as you established also this connection within you. The error you may make is thinking that this connection you have to this man or woman is the one you are seeking, mainly because you don't know what your role is as a healing priestess. We have not been trained to work in this way with man and woman. If this is your case, you have to learn to let the energy of the divine great mother inhabit you first, coming to the surface and touching those you meet, while disconnecting from what you think you are or want or need, a woman or a man needing a partner, for example. You have to heal your wounds of unworthiness and the woman related diseases that have been carried through the memories of a human, such as abuse and so on. This work will have an impact on how you live on this physical plane too, and it is much more expensive. You will learn to open yourself to many adventures and many avenues of self explorations, which can lead to meeting yourself as a divine goddess, which is the priestess at work on earth, and to connect with a true partner that will join you in this work of healing the connections of the world via the self-healing you do too. Now let's explore the archetype of the knight. The knight archetype is another archetype that I came across frequently these last years. He reminds us of the Grail Knight, who is the true companion, protector, and guardian of the Grail. He has great values and his heart follows the great truth and greater vision. He is trustworthy, faithful to his mission, peaceful, and a warrior when he needs to be. He has a longing for what he considers home and sings it and writes poems about it, trying to remember it while in his heart there is this suffering of loss and loneliness that is the result of long journeys out in the world, of the cruelties of the world that he has witnessed, and of all the experiences through the road. He is disconnected from home. Embodying the knight archetype means have an appetite for adventure and a desire to find a less boring quest. Search for a meaningful life, a higher purpose. Face the wounds of loss and reconnect to the old lands and parts of the soul. Find determination to follow the heart's aspirations. Have the strength to fight for what is just, right, and true. Gain wisdom from the wars and cruelties of the world, such as why they happen. End the cycle of karma. Be responsible for his actions and emotions. Question the reason behind things that happens in the world and understand them. Then find the right path and take the right decisions. Be ready to right the wrongs that he has witnessed so they don't possess him. In practical life, when we carry the memory of the knight, we also want to be of service, to heal the masculine and the feminine from these wounds and dysfunctions. Dependency and addictions resulting from old wounds needed to be expressed. The disconnection between the heart and matter, which needs to be reestablished. And patience. Difficulty to master his energy, excess or lack of energy that results in hyperactivity or boredom. Its symptoms can also be skin problems, extreme heat or numbness of the body, emotional immaturity and apathy, vengeance and anger, violence and abuse of power. This archetype wants to be healed by bringing some principles alive again: vision, determination, idealism, empathy, compassion, forgiveness, being fearless and adventurous, skill and mastership, following the great well and protecting the grail, being vulnerable and yet holding great strength within. Now, what is the difference between the archetype of the priestess and the archetype of the knight? When the priestess awakens, she starts her mission right away. One of her biggest challenges is to recognize the sacred flow that gracefully cascades in her and make a difference between the cosmic mission she carries and her own human desires and needs. They may go on opposite directions, and this causes confusion and loss. When the knight awakens, one of the biggest challenges resides in the choice he has to make: to play the role of the knight and re educate himself out of the dogma and social understanding, or leave it behind with the consequences that come with it. In reality, the knight will never disappear, but will be manifested in a negative aspect, as the person will not live in respect with his high principles. He will feel lost, broken within, incapable, and will see everything with despaired eyes, or he might, at the opposite, act with violence and manipulation. The difference resides also in the nature of the energy that the priestess and the knight channel. The energy in the priestess is creative, subtle, sexual, erotic, alive, channeled through the heart, the womb, and the waters that flow through her. She is intuitive and encourages beauty and grace. The energy of the knight touches the heart, but is mainly that of the will. It is intellectual and physical, based on strategy like a game or of chess, which is often called the game of life in esoteric terms, and symbolized by the black and white chessboard or the black and white horses or sphinx in the chariot tarot card. Some ways you win, some days you lose. It's a constant revolution between light and dark, happiness and sadness, stillness and action. This makes it easy for him to not form any attachment or to not suffer, but instead he can understand the victim archetype as he loses some days, and he can thus let go, rather than repress it or fight it. If the victim wound is not dealt with, he can always rise up from the subconscious mind in reaction to triggers in his life, which weakens his inner power. Through strategic planning along his path, he can understand and thus heal the wounds of his experiences and witnessing. The strategy allows him to have a crystal clear vision about his path. The knights are the modern heroes, awakening to save the actual world. They have strength and courage to transform the world and restore it, to re-establish harmony, peace, and free will. Yet, they do not act alone. They have to work with the priestesses to protect the sacredness of all. They must remember that whatever principle they embody, they are of service to the great flow of life that the priestesses channel. Thus, they must protect them, work for them, not against them. The knight's energy has been repressed for many years by the social responsibilities and the distortions of modern rules. They forgot why they incarnate and what their mission is. The priestess's role is central as they awaken the knights and remind them of the importance of the Grail, to find it again and guard it. They shall remember what it means to be responsible for the weak, to defend righteousness and truth, to uproot the devilish actions and wrongdoings, and thus restore balance. The priestesses can help the knights to go through their actual challenges in order to re-establish the connection between the heart and mind, restore the virtues and respect life in all its forms, accept to grow spiritually and to experience the enlightenment. Yet we have to be careful of the shadow of the knight. The shadow of the knight is the violent, brutal warrior and the trickster, the player trying to win the best trophy. Here are some of his mechanisms: seduction, selfishness, abuse, opportunism, dreaming with no connection to the material world, wickedness, sweeping problems under the rug, addictive behaviors such as sex, drugs, alcohol, social media, and so on. They desire to break through known roads, but they don't like to take responsibility for it or think they don't have the courage for it. As a result, they use humor or sarcasm to hide the mix of truth with falsehood, and they get stuck in their own trap of illusion and trickery. As such, a lifetime cannot be easily sustained. They lose the thread that will bring them back home to honesty, clarity, courage, and wisdom, and stay in the bitter darkness and luck, seeing the virtues of love, commitment, responsibilities, and loyalties as weaknesses. Above was mentioned the victim archetype in connection with the knight archetype, but this victim archetype can be present in all of us. In fact, most of us, since we all have suffered in many ways from it and have been taught we are sinful and thus unworthy, just in this lifetime alone. So I will lightly proceed to explain little about it. It is in no way a deep explanation, but we hope that if you fall into this victim archetype of the knight, you will do further reading on it. Heal the victim in you. This is the last part. This archetype is very present in our subconscious as humans because of the history we carry and the damages caused by wars and violence. It can be experienced on personal and family level, but also on societal level. We know that more than a dozen tribes, such as the Pequot, Mohegan, Massachusetts, were completely extinct. Many tribes and nations have been living extreme violence and were subjected, slaved, trapped by other nations, countries, and we still live this till our modern day. While writing this book, there were 32 conflicts and wars still going in the world, old wars and new ones in countries such as Armenia, Azerbaijan, Iran, Yemen, Ethiopia, and so on. The archetype of the victim is present in all of us. It is part of our ancestral baggage, but it is also the expression of the vibration that is generated in many places in the world. We channel it, we express it, and we have to heal it. It appears strongly when we are hurt, disillusioned by failure, loss, bullying after the other. The main characteristic of this archetype is a depressed, "who is me" focus. The grieving of loss in any sort, be it from battle, relationship, death, and so on, trauma and bullying, is a normal reaction, so we shouldn't try to even ignore it, bury it, or repress it, or disregard it because we need to feel it in order to be able to understand it. Not brush it under the carpet and create triggering every time we pass it. But when we take on this victim archetype as a permanent way of life, then it becomes a creator of disasters that produces lots of repeating patterns in our life, creating havoc and overwhelming chaos, and thus dragging us deeper into the victim habit of thinking more and more. Therefore, whenever there is painful thing happening, we really should notice our pain and allow our tears to flow as well as question it and find answers to those questions that are positive, uplifting, and this results in healing. This is how we can start to address the archetype by first feeling it and asking it questions such as, I know the situation happened, but where is my deep pain coming from? What is the best way for me to heal my sorrow? How can I find my strength in this situation? What is the next step for me? Don't avoid your pain. Don't use things to mask it, such as alcohol, which is actually depressive to anyway, so that much desired gin or wine will actually drag you into a deeper negative pattern of the victim. Examine your pain and try to understand how and why you are feeling it. And most of all, love yourself enough to keep observing and addressing your pain. This might include getting professional help when needed, which is a very loving act to yourself. So, the archetype of a priestess and warrior is awakening, sometimes even within the same person, but also it is staged. Among the priestesses I know, many live this relationship of awakening, abuse, manipulation. It's as if like a pattern repeating between the priestesses and the knights that is coming and needing to be healed. So if you have lived this, if you know any priestess or any knight that have these kind of attributes within them, send them this video and suggest to them to maybe jump into their memories of why are they living this now? How can they learn their way back to managing their energies and be of service to the highest mission they came for? How can they protect the grail again? So I hope you enjoy this reading and yeah, you can leave me any comments, any messages, private messages. Also, I would love to hear your story about this. And most of all, protect yourself from the ignorance of your own story, but also from people's ignorance to their own stories. Don't embark on stories unless you know that there is sacred work in it, that there is a meaning to it in your life. Don't embark. Take your time before jumping into relationships or experiences. Don't increase the wounds of the priestess and the warrior or the knight within you, but instead be mindful, be patient, be loving, be wise. Much love.